Welcome to today's episode of Nancy and Nicole Real Life, Real Talk. Today, we're finding out more about Nancy. How you got here. Tell
What those old, I'm totally gonna date myself, the Family Circus cartoons,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
mom hollers out for Billy to come home, and you see this, like, totally crazy zigzaggy path of that he takes to get home. I feel like that is my whole life. So,
Yeah.
uh, how did I get here? So I, started in real estate about 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, I guess. Was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. I had been a psychotherapist working with at-risk youth and then in therapeutic foster care. And I had also worked a little bit with elderly, and I forget sort of what the order of all the different things I had done. I worked at Amazon corporate in their HR department. I'd had a temp job for a number of years at Microsoft. I mean, I was all over.
You
My
did all the
mother
things.
my mother affectionately referred to me as having a mosaic professional life, which really was her way of saying, "Good God, Nancy, would you just, like, figure your shit out?" But what was interesting is she had done real estate in the '70s for a hot minute and hated it.
Hmm.
So when I actually said I was gonna go into real estate, there was a lot of judgment. In fact, I would say most of my friends and family saw that as me selling out because I was doing, social work kinds of mental health work with really at-risk youth and just doing the Lord's work.
Mhm.
And this was sales. So I got into it because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be. We just had a kid, and we were doing sort of rock, paper, scissors on who was going to get the real job. I always assumed it was going to be Leah, my wife of now 30 years. I forget how many at that point, 11, I guess. We went to a concert one night and ran into some friends, and she asked what I was up to, and I said I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do, and she said, "Have you ever thought about real estate?" I was like, "Yeah, but I don't think that's for me. I don't think sales." She, "No, no, 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 I know this guy. He says he can train anybody to be a really successful realtor. You should meet him." "Oh, but I should tell you, he's a complete asshole and you'll hate him, but he's really good at what he does." And I was like, "Okay, well, that's helpful to know this." So I was like, "What have I got to lose?" So I
Let's
called the
go.
guy. I know. I've dealt with enough of those kind of people. So I went and met with this guy, and sure enough, he was everything like this. If you could have written, like, to a T the description of the kind of, uh, human being that absolutely made me nuts, it would have been him. But he said the magic words, which were real estate, you don't really have to sell real estate. Real estate sells itself. It's really about facilitating a process. And the facilitating a process piece was like in neon in my head because up until that point, I had done so many other things. And I always led in interviews with talking about how the through line of all the things I'd done was really about facilitating a process that people are here, in whatever their current situation is, and they identify where they want to be. And my job as their therapist, I also had a private practice for a while, but as a therapist or a trainer and development person at Amazon or working with teams at Amazon, I mean, like all of it is how do you get from where you are to where you want to get to, given who you are, your values, what's important, and creating a plan.
Mhm.
And real estate is just the most physical manifestation of that. Like literally, I live here, I want to live there. How do I get from here to there? So it seemed like, okay, I don't like you, but you did say the magic phrase to open up the safe. And then he introduced me to his sales manager, who was just a dream of a human being. I was like, okay, so which of you am I going to have the most time with? And it was clearly the sales manager. And I'm like, I'm in. So
Love it.
I started doing that, and he, thank God I did not have to deal with him in the beginning. And in the meantime, I got kind of good at being a realtor. I worked exclusively with buyers, and anyway, so the whole business model changed, and I ended up having to deal with the jerky guy a lot. And it was a great experience for me to learn all the ways I did not want to be in the world. It was probably one of the more defining chapters of my life not just because of real estate, but because I looked at him and I was like, "You're conniving. I don't trust you. You're opportunistic. I think you're sticking it to people." And it was like I was somehow on a cellular level taking notes of all the ways I didn't want to be in the world as a person and as a business owner, as a realtor, like all of those. I just did a 180 turn from that. So, and then I left the team, then the recession. I mean, lots of things happened. So it was not a direct path. I never thought I would stick with it. I didn't think I'd be good at it. I didn't think I'd love it. I did not know, especially because that early time, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years. Well, I wasn't with that team that whole time, but even this, I don't know how many years, whatever. Um, it was so taking me out of me being me. Like I had to wear suits, and I mean, it was very, for being self-employed as a realtor, it was a very much a corporate culture, and I it yeah, it was not a good fit. There's a lot of compromise, a lot of me having to bite my tongue and not be me. Um, and so when I found that, oh, wait, I could in fact bring me to this, and actually made me much better at what I do, then I realized I could be having more fun and really getting to make people's lives happy. Um, so I so I did the grind like a lot of people do when they are self-employed. And we had a young kid at home, and I was going to be not completely the breadwinner early on, but that was kind of my job. So that's what I've been doing for 20 years. But I always thought when I stopped doing real estate, I was going to be a hospice chaplain because I had worked with elderly before this and really loved being with people around death and dying, end of life evaluation review, like, so this is it, literally. Like, how do you reconcile your whole life into this final chapter?
Love the chaplain, the hospice. I mean, because that's not to be dramatic, but we're kinda doing hospice for people now just at an earlier stage of life of like, "Oh my god, this is where I'm at. Is this all there is?" Right? Or I need to do it different. It's moving that forward when you still have time to do something, because for all of us, you just get busy living life with
Yeah,
kids or without, but especially you're paying the bills, you're raising the kids, you're doing the things, and then nobody ever stops to ask, like, "Am I doing it in a way that actually works for me or serves me and serves the people around me?"
yeah.
So,
I
I think
was
that's
looking for, I was at a speaking gig the other day, and I was looking for some file in my computer and found a folder that said writings, and I was like, "Huh, I wonder what decade of my life this was from." And so I went back and I read some stuff, and it was like from '09. Nicole, it was so wild. It was exactly from that chapter, sort of that midlife crunch where you kinda go, "Really? This is it?
Mhm.
Or is this it?" And some of it was about work or my aging parents and parenting and all the other, sort of segments of our life. And I realized that for me, early on in that sort of like scramble of who am I, and is this really sort of how I want to ride out the next however many decades? Like, it's this little voice, and that whisper, you can either sort of bat it away like an annoying gnat and kinda just keep in the grind, and I think because of the nature of being self-employed, being an entrepreneur, you tend to
Mm.
just double down on the grind because you can't,
You
really,
got bills to pay.
time we have bills to pay. You don't have the time or energy to think about,
No.
"Am I happy?" It's like, who cares? Just keep working. But that whisper gets louder over time. Like, I love to say that with every passing decade, what other people you care less about.
Mhm.
There's another phrase for that, but
Yeah, it involves F-bombs.
I'm sure we'll be dropping many times. I don't know why I'm being so, "Whew,
Your first
you
couple
say
episodes,
that."
we're trying to ease them into it.
Well, even been to my potty mouth. But I think also with each passing decade, that sense of identification, like, who am I in that sort of hungering for authenticity gets bigger and
Yeah.
louder. And so when I turned 60, a few years ago. It was times a ticking, this like amazing urgency. It was during COVID. I'd had two friends die fairly closely to one another. And it was this wake up call like no other that I've had in
Yeah.
my life about should I get off the pot, Nance? Like,
Yeah.
you figure out, is this really is real estate it? Is and I was like, "No." And so, as you know, sort of the story, had found myself on stages and doing talks and panels and whatever. And it really has been started out being the theme around authenticity and sort of how do we find that true self, using the, sort of metaphor around a tuning fork and how that
Mhm.
works. We'll talk about it more. But really what has, evolved, which I'm super excited, which I think dovetails with the work you and I are doing here, is that there is this disillusionment that happens around midlife, whether it's and for women, you can't help but
Yeah.
feel all of that on a very physical way, but whether it's sort of in your late 30s or really by mid 40s to 60 something, there are varying stages of, "Is this it?" and feeling that urgency. So for me, being able to create some experiences in groups or one-on-one coaching or retreats or in my public speaking from stage to really help people unpack all of the ways our identity keeps us small and
Mhm.
not really aligned, not only because it's about our own personal satisfaction and feeling like, "Oh, how lucky for me, I get to live an authentic life." But going back to sort of the quantum physics stuff that I think fuels some of your work around energy is this thing called, sympathetic resonance, which is
Mm.
when you are if you are a tuning fork and you are vibrating at your frequency of authenticity and you are resonating from that space, those around you who also are it strikes their frequency of authenticity as well.
Yes.
And so there's this ripple effect, and we feel it all the time when we're around people. You know, those people that you just go, "I like them." Like, there's
Mhm.
something about them, you wanna be near them, you wanna hang out with them. It just feels good, not only because of what they are putting out in the world, but it elicits something inside yourself that feels so familiar and satisfying and real and part of ourselves that I think we are just so longing for, depending on how much we miss that part of ourselves. So it really is the legacy impact of that work that we get to do for ourselves. And there's all sorts of research that says, what the physical and mental health benefits and all of that. But I think it is the sort of social piece, the
Mhm.
impact, legacy. And
Yeah.
as I got older, it's like, we know, I mean, there's all sorts of research and books and whatever that talk about, what are their most likely regrets at the end of your life. It's like, so we know what those regrets are,
Hey,
but we still don't change how we live so that we don't have those regrets. Like, that's messed up. Like,
I know, but
I
we're busy
feel
doing Costco runs and laundry and all the things.
yeah. So
How
how
do I
can you
authentically go to
amid
Costco?
laundry and Costco runs and soccer practice and I know from your standpoint, watching a lot of baseball games. Like,
Yeah.
how can we make that not be an either or for people
Yeah.
so that
You're
all of
brilliant
that
at it.
can be integrated in how you show up? And for me, like, everybody knows, I think that I go cold plunging every morning, and that is part of my showing up every day.
Yeah.
And it's how I start my day. So if I don't do anything else the rest of the day that is sort of showing up for me, I have done that for
I love
however many
it.
minutes.
I love it.
So that's some of a lot of talking about
I
how
love
I
it. When I was gonna ask you why now, but you kinda answered that question, which is great.
yeah, it does feel our friendship has been a great container for me to explore some of this stuff, to have somebody else who kinda gets it
Mhm.
about wanting that deeper I think we just wanna believe that more is possible, but not more like more money, more cars, more houses, more stuff. um, but more meaning and more
Mhm.
depth and more connection. I think that's the more that people really want. And sometimes they think it's through the stuff world. But somehow I feel like post COVID, and I realize, I mean, probably for 20 years post COVID, I'll still be referring to post COVID as a marker in
I
time.
think we all will. Yeah,
But I just think that changed everything. I think people want significance. And
I
I
think
think some of that comes with being seen.
yes.
So I think that's kind of why when we said, hey, I think we should do a podcast, it just dovetails with the work that both of us do beyond our, you know, real estate entrepreneur worlds.
I think yeah, there's power in being seen. It's like it's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you feel, and I think this actually has implications for like every work setting, family, I mean, any place where two or more people are gathered, to be honest, which is if somebody feels invisible, I think it's really hard for them to feel like what they do matters.
Yeah.
So if you're a boss or a manager or something somewhere and you have employees who don't feel like really they feel seen, the work they do isn't all that important. And guess what? They don't bring their best work.
No.
And then you create this culture where nobody feels like it really matters if they're showing up as their brightest, best, creative, resourceful selves or not. Then you get crappy work.
Yeah.
And then when you have phases like the great resignation, where people are like, you know what, I'm out.
Mhm.
Like there isn't enough here that is feeding me my more meaning, more significance, more depth, more whatever. Then there's a huge price to pay
Yeah.
for an organization or a company or families or churches or whatever, communities.
All of it.
Yeah. So I think it's fascinating. I'm super excited to peel back sort of some of those layers of our identities and our roles with along with the stories that we tell ourselves
Mhm.
to help people see that, they got this. They're not alone.
No, exactly.
We're having more of these conversations, I think, than sometimes people realize. So,
Lots of good conversations to come.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Anything else you can think of that you want people to know about what you've got coming up? How do they find you? People are like, I need more Nancy Chapin.
Oh, that is a really good question. At this very moment, the best place to find me is on the socials. It'll be in the show notes. I forget what my handle is. Nancy Chapin dot Seattle, I think, or Nancy dot Chape. I don't even know. I'll look it up.
Check the note.
We'll put it in the show notes. Um, and I would love to have, I mean, we're doing a joint email list if you want to
Mhm.
be both of our stuff and getting this podcast. Just let us know.
'Cause you definitely don't wanna miss an episode.
No, that would be silly because it'll be like a little novella where, the next episode won't make sense if you haven't watched this one. I don't
Or
think
none of the episodes will make sense, and they'll just be good entertaining. No, they're all gonna make sense. But yeah, they're
it'll
gonna
be
tr
fun. Cool. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for showing up. It's been lovely to kind of share a little bit of my journey. I hope some of that maybe makes you want to listen to more of our podcasts and come back and we'll be talking about all the stories we tell ourselves.
Yay. Thanks, Nance.
Thank you. Bye.